Welcome to Module 6, Building Your AI Assistant. We've been leading up to this task, mostly by building information that we need to train our own GPT and how to be productive for us. So by now, you should have upgraded to a GPT Plus account. If you haven't, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you won't be able to follow through these steps. You could do it later, of course, if you prefer just to watch for now, but just know the interface that I'm using is the paid account, and that's why it looks different than yours if you haven't already upgraded. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom GPT in ChatGPT. Then we're going to configure it with instructions to match our business, our personas, what we do, who we do it for, how we want it to write, and all these various things. And then we're going to use this GPT to build go-to-market materials for AnyQuest. So to begin, what I want you to do is go up to your main menu and press My GPTs and press Create a GPT. There's a couple of ways to do this. You can start by using this create prompt, but that's not what I prefer. I prefer a little more hands-on control. So we're going to use this configure tab. Now, the configure tab has a number of things we're going to fill in. So the first thing is, let's give this a name. We're going to call it AnyQuest Product Marketing Assistant. Then we need to give it a quick description. We don't need to get too elaborate here. I help with product and marketing tasks for AnyQuest. Then we need to give it instructions. Now, these instructions are something that the GPT keeps in mind every single time that you ask it a question. And so part of what's going to be in this is, what is the role and purpose of the GPT? What knowledge and context will it have access to? What are guidelines, tone, style, how we want responses, and so on. So I've went ahead and provided a fairly lengthy post here. We're going to put this in, and feel free to look at it on the screen. Then for conversation starters, I don't find these to be very useful myself. But if you're building a GPT for others, you might want to add in a few things that will help someone know how they can interact with your GPT. In fact, let's just add in one or two now just to show you what it does. Help me write a blog post. Help me analyze a new feature. Help me write a social post. Okay, so there are three. And you can see they added them as little pods here. Go ahead and check all of these boxes down here under capabilities. Now we're going to upload knowledge files. So click Upload Files, find where your files are located. Here are the four that we want: brand voice guidelines, buyer personas, ideal customer profiles, and our minimum viable company brief. So add these four in. You can see they've been loaded here. Once again, make sure all these boxes are checked. Actions is a way where you can integrate with other URLs and web services. If you're interested in this, let me know. It won't be part of this course, but I would consider making another course that shows you how to build integrations with ChatGPT. The last thing we're going to do is create an image for this, and we're just going to do something simple. You can upload a picture or a logo if you like, but I'm going to use DALL-E, the integrated image generator for ChatGPT, to come up with something. This will just help you pick out this GPT among your other GPTs. And it's easy to collect lots of GPTs once you find out how useful they are for special purposes. So it came up with a bullseye-ish thing. I don't hate it. Let's hit create. We're going to pick only me, although you could allow other people to use this or put it in the store. And let's view our GPT. There's our photo, our logo that we created, the name, me, the description, and here are our little conversation starters. Let's click on one of these. Help me write a social post. Now, if you notice, the audience questions are related to our personas and ideal customer profile, so that's good. And I like the fact that it's giving me specific examples. So let me go ahead and add in a few things here. Now let's look at what it came up with. I gave it minimal information other than our custom GPT. And if you look at what I provided as our prompting for the social post, it's also very minimal. But look what it actually has done here. It knows that a quarter to launch is good, something that would resonate with a business person. It pulled in an example that it knows about. And then it mentioned the pain that they have. Instead of another AI experiment stuck in a slide deck, they shipped it. Like, that's interesting. If I was an innovation leader at a company and I'm not having the best results with AI and I hear this, I'm going to be interested. Now, it did put in a bunch of hashtags here, and I think hashtags are a telltale sign of AI. I will point out it put almost no emoji in there. If you count this little blue dot as an emoji, it's already failed our no emojis test, but given the amount of emojis it usually weaves into everything, this is pretty decent behavior. Great, so now we have a concept that relates to our target market and our audience. Let's see what other formats we can get. Are you familiar? Now, of course, it's familiar. It knows about everything. But if I ask it this, it's going to narrow its information set down and remind itself of what this is about. So it's loading this context into our chat so that I can ask it to use that framework to build the video course. So I let it explain to me what this framework is, and then it will probably offer some help. Oh, look, would you like me to rewrite the LinkedIn post? Yes. So we'll just tell it to do that. Now it's offering additional help. Please add suggested. Okay, so our script is ready. This is looking pretty good. Now let's imagine that we want to continue working with this. We can add it to a canvas. Open this in a canvas. And now, as you remember from an earlier segment, this is a way where we can iterate on the content without tripping over all the chat prompting and content regurgitation. So what I'm going to do here is work through a couple of little pieces and just make this a little bit better. First thing we're going to do is get rid of the hashtags. Let's go up to the top here and say this is actually pretty good, honestly. Like, I'd love to make some random changes for you, so we're going to do that. But like, I feel like given what little we put into it, this is pretty nice. It's that building AI workflow still feels like a science project, not a business process. In fact, once you start using AI, you're going to see this is actually part of the thing that you'll deal with, because it's not as deterministic as most of the other tools we use. Meaning, if you ask it to do a task a certain way, it will often deviate from the way it did it before and refuse to go back to it without hardcore instructions. So I think, this is pretty pitch perfect, but we're going to change it anyway just to show you what's possible. So zoom in on make it a Google Meets meeting because that's more important to me. Logos of Slack, our CRMs, and yeah, this is all good. We'll say build and deploy. Okay, and then I'll get rid of this bullet point. And let's see. Oh, well, look, it added an emoji. Did you notice that? Precious few emojis here. I can't stress enough, there should be a lot. Oh, another emoji. It's starting to get a little Gen Z. Got to keep your eye on these chats before they go buck wild. Here's our downloadable file. Let's open it up. Not bad for a morning's work, I would say. So that's your Module 6, building your own AI assistant and doing some basic work with it. In the next module, we're going to work with messaging and create some core messaging pillars that we can then use to drive further copy, messaging, and content procedures. So I'll see you in the next module.